Hey, it's Joe Crump. Here's the next question that I got. How to find investors to buy your deals. Investors are very easy to find if you've got a real deal. If you've got a deal that's mediocre or doesn't make sense, or if you don't know what a good deal is and you try to sell it, it's going to be impossible to sell. But if you have a deal that fits one of those two possibilities, then you're going to be able to find somebody. And remember, the two possibilities for making money as an investor are: one, has to be on terms at or below market value, or two, available at substantially below market value. Now, it's always easier to sell to an investor or to get an investor in property if you have a terms deal, because it means they have to come up with less cash. The more cash they have to come up with, the smaller the pool is of people that you can go after to sell your properties to. So it makes more sense to go after zero-down structures than it does to go after assignable cash deals or wholesaling deals, because the pool of buyers is so much greater. Never go out and find properties for just one investor. He says, "Oh, go find me some properties and I'll buy them from you." And then when you go out and you do all this work and you do your due diligence and you get all the properties together and you bring it to your guy and he says, "It's not really quite what I want," or "My cash is a little tied up right now, I need another month," and your deal falls apart. But if you have a list of investors, and you build this list by advertising great deals in Craigslist, and you'll start to build a list, and you keep track of these people, and once you build a list of 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000, I've got 70,000 people, investors on my list. So when I have a good deal, I can sell it probably just by making a phone call, because I know who's on my list. I know the people that are active right now on my list. So a lot of times I'll just make a phone call. But if I don't want to do that, I can just send out one email to the list, and the property is sold typically in an hour or two. And as soon as people get the email and read it, they know that I've got some credibility, they know who I am. It makes it easy for me to sell a property. But the reason that they're buying is not because I have credibility or because they know who I am, but because they know, because the deal makes sense, and I can prove that the deal makes sense. So you have to make sure that you put together deals that make sense if you want to flip them to investors or find other investors. And when you do that and you start working with people, then they're going to naturally start coming to you and say, "Hey, Joe, I've got $50,000 that I want to invest. How can we make money together?" And then you can start partnering with those people if you choose to do that. I can barely keep my own money working, let alone work with other people and other people's money. And if you do that, by the way, and you start working with private money, and I wrote a book on this, so go to Amazon and look up my name and look for the Private Money book. It talks about different ways to do this that's very different than the conventional methods that people that teach private money use, because I don't like any of those methods. They're too much work. I like internet marketing as a better way to do it. But if you're going to get people to work with you like that, you can make a large amount of money. Just make sure you're splitting the profits up in a way that makes sense for you. You should be making a majority of the profits when you're doing deals like that, and still being able to give your investors good money and give them a safe return. But you want to make sure you do it where you follow the SEC rules and don't get yourself put in jail. So be careful when you're using private money so you don't fall into those traps. Anyway, finding investors for your deals is simple if you have good deals. It's all predicated upon having good deals. All right, good luck.